I think for Dragon Ball Daima, this is more of my personal opinion. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, whether you like Daima or not, whether you think it's cringe or you think it did well to continue on Dragon Ball Z or the OG Dragon Ball. It is all your opinion. I just want to say that now because this isn't going to be a normal review in terms of structure. This is just going to be my overall thoughts and essentially my finalization on what I thought about the series, because this does seem like a season finale than a series finale, but I'll treat it more like what do I think of it as far as right now of what we got. If we get another season, then for sure I might go back to this and structure season 1 more or less, but for now, Dragon Ball Daima. Was it good or was it bad? Well, that's kind of tricky to talk about because it did a few things interesting. It went back to the roots of OG Dragon Ball in sense of going on an adventure, building up that adventure before going into this big fight kind of thing. And honestly, it's a fresh take. I mean, Dragon Ball Z is popular. Hell, we still have Xenoverse, who keeps kind of recycling a bunch of the old Dragon Ball Z stuff, which is a bunch of the fighting things that every shonen fan enjoys. And I personally, don't get me wrong, I do like shonen. It's just, I think for Dragon Ball Daima, it felt fresh, it felt new because we're going into the demon realm, something vastly different than what I had expected, especially considering the fact that we had mentioned of the demon realm when King Dabura was introduced, the literal king of the demon realm. So there was essentially some setup in Dragon Ball Z, but I mostly think that Toriyama had many different ideas and decided, let's make this series. And obviously, unfortunately, he's gone. But as a finality for his stories, I think Daima is in that sweet spot of, if we don't really think too much of the canonicity of things, it definitely was a fun series. Like, you can genuinely chalk it up to a bunch of funny moments, badass moments, and then every different type of moment all around. However, I think what people get annoyed are bringing Super Saiyan 4 into canonization, how does this tie in with Super, and all that kind of stuff. Because quite literally, people, especially the Dragon Ball fans, have been expecting things to be canon. It was the same thing when Super came in, where GT was not necessarily canonized, and I believe there was an interview with Toriyama saying that, like, Super is a continuation of Z, but GT is like a side story kind of thing, which to interpret that would be that it could be its own timeline kind of thing. And if Daima it's its own timeline, I wouldn't be annoyed. It would make sense why suddenly Kaioshin is, well, separated from Kibito, I think that was the name. Because at the beginning of Super, they were still, well, fused. GT, they were still fused. And, you know, it kind of brings in a bunch of questions in regards to that. So having it be its own thing, but still canon, it's a bit of a mess. And I've heard that Japan doesn't really have this care for canonization, or at least they don't care as much as we do. Which, I mean, different cultures, different things, what they want, that can be a slight problematic. But in my opinion, I think that Daima, you can explain away very few things. Like, how did Vegeta turn Super Saiyan 3? Well, even with I think it was 6 months between Buu Saga and Daima, you can technically say that he went to the Room of Spirit and Time and quite literally trained his ass off. Plus, Goku achieved it in the Elder World. I don't doubt that Vegeta would figure a way to achieve it, and if he used the Room of Spirit and Time for 1 or 2 days, so 1 or 2 years, it's more likely that he would have came out with Super Saiyan 3. As for Super Saiyan 4, I mean, the design is okay. I mean, it's pretty interesting. Obviously, I guess Super Saiyan 4, I have a specific care on the GT side, because it definitely looks a little bit cooler. But I don't think it was a bad design. I genuinely don't. And if anything, it definitely fit with the aesthetics of the Dragon Ball Daima visuals. And not to mention that they showed off a bunch of things like the bugs. I think the fusion bug was one we all expected was going to happen. But the fact that it didn't makes me kind of question what they forget or what had happened. But it's fine. I mean, if it does, I mean, it's annoying because it's like a Chekhov's gun. Don't set up something that could be used later on. But I mean, it could just be that they were just showing off all the different types of bugs, and I don't think Goku was thinking of using the fusion bug. But if it's there, it's a possibility to use the fusion bug. It would be interesting if they did use it if there's a continuation to Daima. But moving on from this point of visuals of Super Saiyan 4, obviously people are annoyed of canon-wise of how the hell didn't Super Saiyan 4 Goku, or well, Goku used Super Saiyan 4 against Beerus. Why didn't he whip that out? And to that I say, I don't know. I genuinely thought that it was through the old Namekian that he literally could just, or he's the only one that can necessarily bring out Super Saiyan 4. So a similar thing to how GT Vegeta could not achieve Super Saiyan 4 on his own and needed the blood swaves due to the fact that he had like Tuffle DNA mixed with his, so it kind of fucked up his ability to do it. And I know, people are gonna say, well, you need to go the Golden Azaru, and then turn into Super Saiyan 4. And it's like, yeah, but last I checked, in GT, after Goku went Super Saiyan 4 once, he can shit it out whenever he felt like. So that kind of made me question a complaint I heard about how after Neva or the old Namekian had given him his power of Super Saiyan 4 or helped boost it, how he can just use it after the fact. It's like, yeah, but GT Goku could also do the same. I don't know, that was something that I kind of got annoyed with people. I'm like, I understand Super Saiyan 4 is canon now, why didn't you use this on Beerus? And to that I say, one, I genuinely think that they could have had it where there's special conditions in order for Super Saiyan 4 to be achieved, similar to how Super Saiyan God had that special condition before Goku can just use it later on. But that would have been one thing. And two, even if he did use Super Saiyan 4 against Beerus, do you honestly believe he would beat Beerus with Super Saiyan 4? I mean, everyone has debated GT Goku versus Super Goku. Let's all be real. Both of them would lose to Beerus. Even with the Ultra Instinct stuff, Beerus is still stronger for some reason. He's just built different. But anyway, it's still going to lead to Beerus beating the shit out of Goku. There is no change in that specifics. But I'd like to bring up an editor's note here. I almost forgot to mention, Goku isn't as stupid in Dragon Ball Daima compared to Dragon Ball Super. Here's the problem with Dragon Ball Super I have that I definitely was happy with Daima. Goku in Super is a bit too stupid in certain aspects. Like when him versus Hit, there was some intelligence brought up in terms of strategies to take on Hit's time skip. The manga does it better, but the anime, I can acknowledge that, especially when he revived himself against Hit when he hired Hit to kill him. There was a lot of things that I was okay with, but a lot of it comes down to Super causing the Goku is stupid thing to get too popular, because Goku isn't stupid. Dragon Ball, original Dragon Ball, he was more like a naive kid trying to learn of the world. Dragon Ball Z, everyone knows that although he makes bad choices, he isn't stupid. And then Super kind of dialed up the stupidity like a lot. But Daima has him doing some stuff, being like smart about how he fights. And when they're fighting against King Goma, like he talks with Piccolo and they strategize. So like Goku is a lot smarter in Daima than he is in Super. I think that's one thing I want to emphasize with this little addition to the video. Anyway, continue on past me. Moving on to that, I think the story was slow, but I think it was slow for a purpose. It wanted us to get to know the characters, especially Glorio and Pansy, because they are our main two new characters, and wanted us to get familiar with them, familiar with Kaioshin's brother and sister, King Goma, like all of these characters, and Majin Ku and Majin Du, because they played a big role in the final fight. Like it's building it up. And I will say the fighting was pretty fun. Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta versus the Tamagami 2 was amazing. Goku versus Glorio was fun, as well as Goku versus Tamagami 3. And then Majin Du versus Tamagami 1 was kind of funny, honestly. And obviously everyone versus King Goma was a massive masterpiece. Now, I will say that the finale felt a bit rushed, and that is a tad bit annoying because that is almost the exact same thing that happened with Dragon Ball Super, like at the end of the tournament arc, or well, the Power Tournament of Power arc. And I was a little bit annoyed that they couldn't just give a whole episode of just after everything's said and done, just have another episode of them fighting and beating Goma, and then after that have an episode after that to kind of just set things up of, okay, we're gonna say goodbye to y'all now because we've accomplished the goal of becoming adults now. But I don't know, I mean, it felt like there's probably a chance to have another season, but that's just me. Now, obviously everyone will have a different opinion on what they think of the story. I think that it did pretty well. It actually brought me back to how OG Dragon Ball was. Like, it's slow at the beginning, and then once things do pick up, like, they'll pick up fast, and it kind of felt, like, balanced up until the end. I feel like the end sort of fumbled how to conclude a story, but I'm almost thinking there was more to it than this. But because the Demon Realm is big, I think we only saw a vast portion of it. Demon World 3, Demon World 2 being a bunch of lore stuff, and then Demon World War 1 was where everything happened. So overall, I think I give it an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed my time with it. Obviously, there's canonization issues, there's a few pacing issues, and you could say that Super Saiyan 4's design is a bit of an imitation or knockoff to the OG Super Saiyan 4 design. However, I think the fights, the music, the choreography, and the funny moments do their job well to keep the story entertaining and fun. Per me personally. But I'm curious what y'all think. So, yeah, comment down below. Tell me if you thought Daima was fun, or maybe you thought it was cringe. And yeah, I hope y'all have an amazing day.